Good morning, dear students. Our topic is teaching listening. Today we will discuss about new approach of teaching listening. And issues for discussion are the following. Why is listening so difficult for students? What do we listen to in everyday life? What are the characteristics of the listening process? What are the principles of teaching listening? What are the common activities in teaching listening? So we know that listening is also one of the receptive skills in the English language. Teaching receptive skills, they are, as we have mentioned, listening and reading. So why we listen, or why students listen? To exchange information, to share feelings and enjoy. What are some of the most common listening situations? They are listening to live conversation, listening to announcements at the airport, railway station, bus stations, listening to the news or watching TV or films, listening to recordings, songs, following a lesson, attending a lecture, listening on the phone, following instructions, listening to someone giving a speech or public presentations. Typical materials used for listening. So what are they? So they can be authentic materials or semi-authentic materials. Authentic ones, radio broadcast recordings, videos of TV shows or movies, lectures, and phone conversations. Semi-authentic materials, unrehearsed tapes, role plays with native speakers who speak at normal speed, and prepared ones or prepared materials, commercially prepared tapes and recorders and videos that we use in our lessons and lectures. So now let's look through top-down processing. Listener gets general understanding or overview of listening text. This is greatly helped if the listener's schema allows them to have appropriate expectations of what they might hear. For example, if I am listening to a doctor talk to a patient, I expect to hear about a medical problem. I expect that the doctor will give some advice, maybe a prescription for some medicine, or I also know many of the vocabulary they will use. Bottom-up process in listening. The listener focuses on individual words or phrases and gains an understanding of the whole passage by linking these together. So now, listening skills: identifying the topic, predicting and guessing, listening for general understanding, listening for specific or detailed information, interpreting a text, making inferences. So what are extensive and intensive listening? Extensive listening is a listening for pleasure, listening on your own because you want it. Intensive, listening for a purpose, often done with a teacher's help because you have to. What are some examples of why you might engage in extensive and intensive listening activities? What should teachers' objectives include in a listening lesson? Exposing students to a range of listening experiences. Making listening purposeful for the student provides students with reason to listen. Building up students' confidence in their own listening ability. So what is PDP Framework? What do you think? What does PDP stand for? This is pre, during, and post listening activities. PDP is a framework that can be used to teach the receptive skills, reading and listening, and to help develop learners' comprehension. Activities in the PDP framework are sequenced and scaffolded in such a manner that learners are provided with the support they need to fully understand a given text. So P, as we have mentioned, P stands for pre-listening, D, during listening, and P, post-listening. What kind of activities do you think happen in each stage? Or what kind of activities can we use in pre-listening, during listening, or sometimes we call it while listening, and post-listening activities? Typical pre-listening activities, they are discuss a relevant picture to activate background knowledge, or sometimes we can say picture prediction or picture prompt. Discuss relevant experiences, brainstorming what students know about the topic with a word map or cluster. Associate ideas with a topic. Associate vocabulary with a topic. Predict information about the picture. Write question about the topic. Show reality related to the topic. A menu or movie schedule. Pre-teach vocabulary with pictures, reality, for example, in context, word mapping, mind mapping, cluster, and etc. Typical during listening activities. Listening for the gist. Doing a task such as filling out a form, filling a map, or taking an order. Listening to a background noise to establish setting and topic. Making a decision based on information. Figure out relationship by listening to a tone of voice. Note making from a lecture. Listen to specific intonation. Listen to specific statement. Or listen to specific question. Or listen to specific any information. Raise hand when hearing certain words. True, false questions. Marking stress or intonation, matching, multiple choice questions, strip story, ordering, numbering items, sequencing activities. As we use in our lessons, we put the text, we ask students to sequence the story, listen and sequence the story. Detecting mistakes, writing short answers, agree or disagree with explanation. Create Venn diagrams, list characteristic qualities or features, match speech to visuals, compare and contrast to another speech or text, or we can use T-charts. No specific responses for stories or anything that is interesting, humorous, or dramatic. We just have the student listen and enjoy. Listen and tick. You are going to listen to 3 students talking about their school subject. Listen carefully and decide if they like or dislike the subject. Put a tick for like and cross for dislike. So this is one of the activities that can develop listening comprehension or listening skills of the students. Listen and sequence. Listen to an announcement of the order of the games at sport meetings. Make the following games with numbers from 1 to 6 according to the order they displayed. Or another, listen and act. It is mostly with just young learners, for beginners, mostly with young learners from the age 2 or 7. Stand up, point 2. For intermediate learners, pretend you are doing something. So they show different actions. Listen and draw. Listen and fill. Listen and guess. Listen and guess. Or listen and predict. Typical post-listening activities. Debate a topic, write a letter to a newspaper or radio station. Interviewing native speakers, calling for information, travel agency, movie theater, car rental agency, restaurants. Perform a role play, reading and writing about the topic, discussing the topic, listening to another example, making a poster, compare and contrast to your own experience, create your own version of the missing section, plan a solution to the problem, share reactions, share your own experience, debate a topic, and others, where students can also record their stories or record their just experiments as a post-listening activity. What do you think the goals of each stage are? Fair. To motivate learners by giving them a reason for listening, to prepare students for listening by contextualizing and personalizing to make it more accessible and more realistic, and prepare them for listening. Pre-teach vocabulary. To introduce the topic, arouse learners' interest into it, to involve students in the specific topic. To activate prior knowledge. To provide a purpose for listening. Now, during. What is the purpose, aim of during activities or objective of during activities? To comprehend the listening text from general to specific, easy to difficult, and concrete to abstract. Post. To enable students to consolidate or reflect upon what they had listened to. To relate the content of the text to learners' own knowledge, experience, interests, views. To make practical use or expand on the listening text or lexics and grammar introduced in the text. To develop language by integrating listening with other skills, listening, reading, writing, speaking. Activity staging in PDP, pre, during, and post, concrete to abstract. Activities in the during listening stage should be staged from concrete to abstract, easy to difficult, general understanding, main idea, specific and detailed understanding of the text. Student learning outcomes and PDP, CLO and difference with PDP. With the CLO achieved in the PDP framework. Where is a CLO achieved in the PDP framework? The CLO is achieved at the end of the during stage. Post stage. Is the post stage necessary if the CLO is achieved at the end of the during stage? No. So why have the post stage? To reinforce students' understanding of the text by personalizing the topic by integrating other language skills, such as speaking and writing. Allow students to reinforce the new vocabulary and language structures from the lesson by using other skills. Help students to be creative, expand on, personalize the topic. When one great thing happens, then another great thing happens on the top of it. It is the second thing is the icing on the cake. Example, today I was promoted to head of the department and they decided to raise my pay. Answer, why? Icing on the cake. We love all to eat delicious cake and sometimes the cake has an extra sweet layer of icing on the top. That is the icing on the cake. Example, your wife is beautiful to look at and she is a wonderful person. Answer, true, it is the icing on the cake. Example, we won the case and they are going to pay our legal expenses. The answer, that's an icing on the cake. Example, I have been accepted by the university and they have offered me a position on basketball team. That's wonderful, the icing on the cake. How can we set our students up to be successful at listening? Make sure instructions are clear. Students have to understand very clear what they have expected to. So teachers should give clear instructions. Make sure that each time a listening text is heard, even for the second or third time, the students have a specific purpose of listening. Give them a task. Do plenty of pre-listening work. So there should be many pre-listening activities to prepare students for listening tasks. Encourage students not to worry if they don't understand every word. A task can be completed even when they miss some of the words. Here is a framework: during, pre, while, and post. This shape presents the amount of time that should be allotted for each stage in the lesson. So this is all for today.